Welcome back to another tutorial video. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and demo the Razor token. So in Plantin app, you can create custom tokens. In a previous video, I showed how to use the Razor action to use C# code in a Razor template to produce functionality in your action list. In this case, we're going to do the very same thing, except for we're going to do it as a Razor token. So it's a way to show you how you can do the same thing multiple different ways in the system. Both of these cases would be using C# code. In this case, we're going to tackle the Razor token. So we're going to have the exact same scenario. We're going to create a custom form using the action form, and this form is going to have the user enter in their name. And if they choose not to enter in a name, they can leave it blank. And then what that's going to do is it's going to say hello world if they left their name field blank. And if they put their name field in, it'll say hello David if they entered in David. So the first thing we're going to need is a text box. And that text box is going to say, what is your name? And I'm going to override the ID here, and I'm going to call this name. Okay, and then we are going to have a button, and we're just going to call that button run. And we'll use the default thing. We're not going to define any actions for that quite yet. And then we want some static text. And so we're going to grab a static field here, and we'll just call that greeting. And that's all we needed there. Let's flip over to our layout. And we want to make some adjustments to the layout here. Let's shrink up that name field. And we'll put it at 2. And then we're going to throw up the run button here. And it just says run, so it does not need to be very long. And then we'll drop our greeting up here. We're going to go back to our properties here, and we're going to look at we're going to go to our form properties, and we need to shrink down our label size. We'll do 112, and I just like them aligned left, so we'll switch it to align left. I'm going to go ahead and click save, and I'm going to go back here. We've got our form here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go manage form full screen, right click, and do open in new tab, so that we can have both things open here. Let's go ahead and expand that back out to 2 so that it doesn't wrap. Click save, and we'll do a refresh on our form. We have what is your name. We need to get our input box a little bigger. Go to layout and give our input box. Yes, because if our label's 2, then we need to definitely expand the size of our input box, so that we have actual room for the input. So that's 3. Let's shrink this button down, move it over, and give one more spot there. So that's 4. So we got 2 columns for the label and 2 columns for the input. Just shrink it down one more here. That should be plenty. Go ahead and click save. We'll do a refresh. We definitely have plenty of room there for the name. Okay. So our plan here is the user will come in, then click run and leave it blank, and we'll get a greeting here along the side, or they can come in, click David, click run, and once again, nothing's going to happen because we haven't defined an action list. Just because I'm a stickler, we're going to shrink this down, give the run button one more column so that our please wait doesn't wrap, and we should be good to go there. So now we need to go down our run. So this is the heart of our thing. And so we're going to need 2 actions down here. One is create and update tokens, and that's going to do the majority of our work. And then the other thing is our on the data update form data Ajax. So this is what actually handles updating our screen. And so put a description in there for update form. If you're not using the update form data Ajax action, you really should investigate it. That allows the screen to the fields to refresh with their data without doing a full post back of the screen. So it's really a better user experience. So go ahead and dive into that. It's pretty easy to drop that on the form. And this is where the heart of our stuff's going to happen, but it's not even going to happen here because we need to update the greeting, but we need to create a custom token for updating the greeting. So we're going to click Save there. And let's go ahead and open another tab. And what we need to get down into our Plant an App menu, and we're going to go down to Tokens. And now we need to create a token, and that's what's actually going to have our Razor code and do our logic. I've already got a namespace here, Veovia Tech, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new token. And I'm going to call that token Hello. If you're following along with the blog posts, in my blog post it's called Hello World, but I've already used that code, that name, that token name, so I'm just going to call it Hello for this one. So we got Hello. It's in the namespace Veovia Tech. We do not need a default value, but we're going to select Razor script. We've also got caching. We're not going to do anything with caching because we don't want to cache it. So let's just stick with the Razor script definition right here. If you've watched the video on doing a Razor action, this is somewhat similar. Actually, it's really similar. We do have the option here of doing C# or VB.net. We're going to stick with C#, but when you're doing a Razor token, you can do it with VB.net as well. So if you're more comfortable with VB.net, maybe the token is the way to go. We've also got in here an additional assemblies area. We're not going to use that at this point in time, but if you need to reference other .NET libraries that have existing functionality and existing business logic for your company, you can reference those there as long as they're in your bin folder. You'll have access to them, and you can use custom business logic in this code. But this is going to be the heart of what we're doing. We need to do a parenthesis block here in our script, and then we need to set up a message. So we're going to go string message. This is our message variable. We're going to set that up as blank. And then what we're going to do, let's just drop hello world in there. I'm going to do this a little bit more concise than my blog post, but this will match up pretty closely to the video I did on doing a custom Razor action. Okay, so we got string message hello world. And just to match the other video, I will rename this to greeting. And then the last thing we need to do is at the bottom of this is do greeting, which dumps the contents of our greeting variable into the output, which is what our token value will end up being. So all we're doing right now is we're setting the variable greeting to the value hello world, and we dump the greeting out onto the output to use. So we can do save and test. Okay, and so I've saved, it dropped my token here, hello, and we've got hello world. So it's showing our output there. We obviously wanted to do a lot more than that. So what we're going to do is we need to do an if statement. One thing I'll do here is we need to have a name parameter as part of this. So string name, which is going to be what the user enters. And then here is the biggest difference between doing a custom Razor token and the custom Razor action. In the custom Razor action, all of our tokens are available to us as variables already in our code. So if you haven't watched that video, I recommend you go back and take a look at that one. For tokens, all of our variables that are getting passed in the token are going to be off of the token params object that we have. So if we do token params here, and then we just have to decide what our parameter name is that's going to get passed in from the token. And we're going to go ahead and call that, let's see, what should we call that? We're going to go ahead and call that name. And then we need to do a toString on that just to make sure that our value that's coming in is a string that we're passing into our name variable here. So just to reiterate what we're doing, we've got a token params object, right? And we're going to have a parameter passed in on our implementation side of this, on our side where we're using this token. That's going to be called name, and we're casting that toString. So we got an if statement here, and we need to check if this value is blank or not. So we're going to do string.is null or white space, and we're going to go ahead and check that name parameter. And we want to actually flip this to a not. So we want inverse. So if we're defaulting the greeting to hello world. So the only reason we'd want to override that value is if they did enter a name. So if it's not null, if it's not white space, so that's a built-in .NET function, string.isNull or white space is checking if the value of name is either null or if it is like a tab or a space, or there's just nothing in it. And then if that's the case, we need to override our message or our greeting variable. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do hello space plus name, and then we're just for good measure add an exclamation point there and a semicolon. So if it's not null or white space, we're going to go ahead and do an override of what's in our variable, and we're going to do hello name and exclamation point. And so we can go ahead and click save and test, and we've got hello value. And the reason we've got hello value is because the test parameter, the test method automatically dropped our parameter in here. So it's basically told us exactly what we need to provide for our token. So we have a name input, and it defaulted it to value. And so if we put in David here, go ahead and click this play button, it's now going to say hello David. So this is this exact same functionality that we had in the previous video with when we did a custom action, except for we're doing it with a custom Razor token. And so we can leave this blank. Leave this blank, we just get hello world. So that is exactly what we want. Go ahead and put David back in here, and I'm just going to copy this. So now we have this to use in our code. And so we've already saved. We can just flip back to our action form. We go back down to our run button, and we already dropped in that create and update tokens. So we've got our value here that we need to drop in, right? But then we need to replace David with the name token, right? And so this name token corresponds to our field here, what is your name, which I renamed the ID on that name. So these fields that are coming in automatically get tokens created for us in the PlantSnap system. So if I scroll down to here, we've got our name token here. We've got our custom Razor token. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to 2. I believe I need that because it won't convert the name there if I do that. Let's just do a test and see what happens. So we do greeting. We do Veolia Tech hello. Is our custom token, and we do name equals and our name token. And then we've got our update form Ajax class here, or action here. That is what pushes it down to our screen, right? So since we've named this token greeting, greeting matches up with our field name, that tells this action here that we want that greeting token to get shoved into our greeting static field on the user screen. So let's go ahead and click save. And we'll do a refresh, but I don't think we need it. Let's go ahead and put David in here. Click run. And it says hello David. So it looks like one recursion was enough. So it must convert one level of our tokens in there. So we should be good with that. And now if we do blank here and we click run, we're going to get hello world. I can put a space in here. Click run. We still get hello world. And I can put any name in there. Let's remove those spaces. Put in Bob, and we get hello Bob. So that's it, and that's how you can use a custom Razor token in either VB.NET or C# to do more advanced logic in your code when a regular built-in action isn't going to handle exactly what you want. I hope you enjoyed watching this video on how to use the custom Razor token. Like I said, you can do that in C# or VB. If you want to see how to implement that in the custom Razor action, go ahead and see our other video on that, and I'll link to that below. Beyond that, feel free to subscribe if you want to check out future tips and trick videos that we have. If you have any questions about this video or topics for future videos, feel free to head down below to the comments. Otherwise, if you want to reach out to us, you can head over to our website, veoviatech.com.